Good afternoon, and welcome to the first meeting of our Academic Affairs Committee for the 2025-2026 school year. I cannot believe that we are here again already, but welcome back, everybody. This officially kicks off the start of the new school year for us, which we'll talk about as we meet today, but as a reminder, we are here. Our new student representatives were invited to join us today. However, one of them is on vacation and one had an unexpected golf team practice added this afternoon and then was no longer able to be here. So Jordana and William will join us throughout the year as we've had in the past, but just not today. And as I mentioned, I am hopeful Dr. Yannicone will join us at her soonest availability. She had a personal appointment to take care of right before we got to start. All right, and with that, we have a full agenda, as I know you would expect for this committee, because we're always busy. And so today, what we're going to talk about on our agenda for academic affairs is a travel-based learning program for middle school, an opportunity that has come to us. And Mrs. Pellegrini, who's a teacher at our middle school, is here to talk about that. We have a couple updates on curriculum overviews and to finish up our STEM approval. So Mr. Spiker is here to join us to talk about that. Dr. Lutz is going to talk a little bit about and around our equity action plan. We are ready to present that information to the board tomorrow night, but we wanted to provide a preview to this team. Dr. Lutz will also share her review of the proposed code of conduct and student handbooks, which are on the agenda for approval tomorrow evening. And Dr. Dennis and I are going to provide some overviews about the summer of 2025 and what you missed since we've been away from each other and just making sure you have the newest updates. If there are no questions before we get started, I am going to start with Dr. Mangano and Mrs. Pellegrini talking about travel-based learning at the middle school. But Mrs. Pellegrini, I do have the slide deck here and I can forward when you're ready, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to turn it over to them. Dr.
If I
Mangano?
may, Taylor, before you get started, I just wanted to thank you, Dr. Johnston, and thank you to Academic Affairs Committee for allowing us to, and allowing Taylor actually to present this evening. I just wanted to speak on behalf of the building principal that I'm really proud of two teachers who came forward with this opportunity to work with EF Tours in terms of what always looking for how we can expose our students to so much learning that's not just where we are. So I just want to take a minute to thank them and support their initiative and their willingness to think outside of the box and do more, and I'm really proud of them. So I'm here to support Taylor, and Sarah could not be with us, but happy to see this launch and hope we can get some better understanding around it. So thank you for the opportunity. Thanks, Taylor.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm here to present about the travel-based learning program for the middle school. I'm Taylor Pellegrini, and then I'm working with Sarah Schmidt, who is currently doing her own traveling. EF is Education First. It's a travel-based program. And throughout the slides, it talks about some of the details, including the safety precautions that you can see on the slide. And there's also a link there where they talk about more of their logistics. You can go to the next slide. Yeah. So we know that there are some concerns with the middle school students attending a travel field trip, but one of the good things is that EF provides a 24/7 travel tour director who is local to the area. And they also provide additional security for trips. For example, on domestic travel, they have overnight security guards there in the hotel with the group. And there's some other things on there too that you can read. Next slide. Yep. So EF tours for the middle school is a little bit different than the high school. For the middle school, there's a lot smaller of a group. The goal would be 45 max people. So probably more like 25 to 30 students. And then we have our chaperones and then any additional adults who decide to attend. As well as a more rigid schedule with less unstructured time, whereas the high school has a little bit more unstructured free time for exploration. They kind of jam-pack things for the middle school to keep them focused and to keep them entertained.
And learning, of course.
And learning, yeah. In the most fun way. So our first trip that we're proposing is in the summer of 2026 to Puerto Rico. It's domestic travel, so no passport is required, and it's a total of 5 days, but 2 of those days are for travel. So it's more like 3 days in the actual location, and 2 of the days kind of traveling there and then traveling back. And it highlights a lot of different historical as well as environmental elements of the country. And there's also a link for on there for the specific details of like every day's itinerary as well. Next slide. And the timeline for this would be proposing that we would go on this trip around this time, and then if we get approved by the Academic Affairs Committee, then it would go to the school board, and then if approved by the school board, we could then pitch it to and have like an interest meeting or just an interest table at back to school night, and then hold a larger interest meeting for students and families later in September with an enrollment period happening in October. And then if we didn't get enough students, we could have a re-enrollment period, but that's not always necessary. And then traveling in the end of June, like right around after school time is over. And then our second proposed trip would be, as long as everything goes according to plan and everything is good for the first one, in 2027, doing some international travel to Costa Rica, which is still kind of close by. And this is a 7-day trip, but 2 of those days, again, are still travel days, so more like 5 days in the actual country. And it has a similar like feel to it. It's a lot of like historical and cultural as well as some environmental opportunities, like visiting a national park and going to a cacao plantation, which is something that students learn about in 6th grade as well. And then again, there's a link to the actual itinerary there at the bottom. So the timeline for this would be, if everything gets approved, to start a little earlier. If people miss out on that original first year trip, then they can maybe go on the second year trip. And so we would want to do that in February. And this gives people a little bit more time for payments because they would have about a year and a half instead of like a 10-month period. And then we would have a re-enrollment period in October if we didn't get enough students to fill the bus, and then the trip would be again at the end of the school year in June of 2027. So next steps would just be to hopefully get approved by the Academic Affairs Committee and then get board approval requested for the school board meeting, and then share information with families on back to school night. So if there's any questions or concerns, I'd be happy to answer.
So before I have Taylor take any questions, I wanted to just sort of lay in some information, which is as a part of my work with superintendents across the Commonwealth, I had the opportunity to meet with a representative from EF, and we learned that we had already talked about how we might begin to really look at greater opportunities for our middle schoolers to travel and have learning experiences. And so I had the opportunity to work with other superintendents and assistant superintendents across Pennsylvania who also have middle school travel in place. There are other school districts. Pottstown goes here in Pennsylvania, Susquehanna Township goes. North Penn has some middle school work. And so we really wanted to understand how that happened. And when we, both Dr. Mangano and I, and along with Dr. Yannicone, had the opportunity to learn, while we have some wondering on how this will go, the conversation of starting smaller and looking at something like Puerto Rico, seeing how that goes prior to engaging in international travel, is one of the reasons we wanted to do it. In the end, what we know is that if families aren't interested, then this isn't going to be something that's a big part of our program, but we still think we could offer it. I'm reminding this board, as you know, EF Tours is a self-sufficient organization. We are just providing a very light adjacent responsibility. This is coordinated by them. Taylor and her team would work for EF Tours in this process. The school board just gives permission for us to disseminate information to our student body during school hours. So really what we're asking for is really a conversation, making sure that you have any questions answered that you want about middle school aged travel, and then understanding sort of any questions that you want to talk about. I see the hands. Lee, you were up first. You get to go.
So, coming from Europe and being educated in Europe, this is definitely something that I think is an important part of student growth, to get experiences, within and outside of country. It's very easy coming from the UK. You can get on a train and be in France in like an hour. One of the questions I have is, are there limitations on what students will be able to attend based on the fact, like, students with disabilities, student with intellectual disabilities, other kind of special needs? Would there be a limitation on those students being able to attend this type of program?
Yeah, so I did talk with the EF directors about those kinds of things. I know we have students who have physical disabilities and other handicaps. And so when it comes to the disability, it depends on the disability on whether or not they would be restricted, but they welcome all participants. So for example, if there's a student that is wheelchair bound, and for example, the Costa Rica one has them going like whitewater rafting. And if the student who's wheelchair bound isn't comfortable whitewater rafting, then that might not be an activity that they could participate in, but they can still attend the trip. They also recommend that if there's a student with specific needs, that the parent attend with them so that they have that person who's able to physically help them. And this way, if they are unable to do a specific activity, the parent can stay with them in that sense. But there isn't any restriction as far as they're not letting people attend the tour for any specific disability or handicap.
Taylor, one of the things I had spoken with Mrs. Schaefer, who was the statewide coordinator, about was that actually if the needs are known, for example, if a child with a physical disability were participating, they also can alter, if they know that well enough in advance, they can alter the itinerary. I couldn't get the word itinerary in order to ensure full inclusion in those experiences. So there wouldn't be necessarily a whitewater rafting trip if we need, like, that could be, there might be alternative options provided.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, it would be an expectation on a parent attending rather than the school providing some support for that.
The school would not provide support because it's not a school trip.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what I imagined, but I just wanted to make sure that we
However, we have, depending on the ratio of kids and the determination of chaperones, that might be something that we would consider in the who we identified as a chaperone for the trip.
Okay, no, that's I think that's really helpful information. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Amy, you were up next.
So I just wanted to clarify and maybe make this more public. As a school board, all we're doing is approving that it's okay to send out the information about the trip. The school district is not in any way financing it. I am of the understanding that employees of the school district oftentimes chaperone these trips. But they're also doing that, not necessarily as an employee, but on their own, correct?
Correct. That is correct.
Okay, I'm just confirming all that for the public.
Yeah, and I think additionally to that is there have been some questions around how we could more clearly articulate that, and our board policies aren't as delineated as I think they could be, and we're recommending. So once the school year begins, we are actually meeting with people who have coordinated the trips at the high school, along with Taylor and Sarah, and are going to take a look at those board policies and bring forward some proposed recommendations to clarify and make that a little bit clearer related to bigger trips. We talk about field trips a lot, but these sort of larger overnight excursions and learning trips are not as well identified. And so we got some advice from some colleagues on how we could tighten up our procedures about that. So we're going to do that this year.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Karen.
I guess my question was sort of along the same lines, which was what's the district's responsibility, one, for safety and security of the students as they are traveling, and again, sort of financially, what's our responsibility for this at all, if there is any, which I'm thinking there isn't, but that's my concern is always for the safety and security of kids as we're traveling.
So one of the things we know from EF and our collaboration with them is they're constantly monitoring sort of the safety across the nation, across the world, right? So in the event there are particular safety risks that become known, and in fact, several years ago when the high school went to Costa Rica, there were some questions right before they were going, but there was an assessment done, and ultimately they were at the level that was cleared to be safe. But they work collaboratively with participants, and if the event that people are feeling unsafe, there are protections for both sides within the contract of the agreement. And so there's ways around that part. The school district has no obligation financially, but what I did learn from EF is that they in fact do work with people across the world that sometimes are interested in providing scholarships or support. So in the event that someone is financially not able to, on the front end, participate, if that's known to the school district's coordinate, not the school districts, if that's known to the group leader, in this case, Taylor and Sarah, that is something they can work with EF to identify where those donors might be, or other opportunities to help offset some of the costs.
Yeah.
Taylor, did I get that based on what you heard too?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So financially, if there are students who are unable to attend but have the desire to go, there are some alternate payment options as well as scholarships that they could still attend.
Which is new information to me, Dr. Taratuski, because I know we've talked about this over the years when the high school trips have come forward. So I was excited to learn about that option. I was not aware of that before.
Okay, yeah, that's always another concern too, because I know, we think a lot of our community, and there are kids in our community that both deserve and would like opportunities for this, but don't have the means, or maybe even wouldn't even think of approaching this because they know their family situation. So,
right.
Mrs. Bell.
Hi, so I just want to say I have two kids who have been through the high school, and I actually had no idea that they even had trips like this. So this is actually very interesting to me. So in terms of cost, like, and this may be just something you don't know the answer to as of yet, but it sounded like you said, I think, that parents could also go with the child, or is that only if the child, say, has needs that require like a parent to be with them?
No, parents can attend as well. So there is a difference between the student cost and the parent cost. The student cost is a little bit cheaper. The parent cost is a little bit more, just because of like they would need additional hotels, and we wouldn't put we would separate the kids from the parents, obviously, in hotel rooms, unless like the kid wants to be with their parent. But again, it would be like we're not pairing students with their not parent, if that makes sense. So it just changes the cost a little bit. But parents are welcome to attend. It's just something that we want to reiterate to families, that this is not a family vacation. So if parents are coming with their kids, or say the whole family is coming, it's not a family vacation. It is a very structured tour with specific things that they are doing at specific times, and they are expected to remain with the tour group and not kind of say oh yeah, we're here and now we're going off on our own. So they're welcome to attend with their kids, and I think that might make some people a little bit more comfortable, especially at the middle school level, but it's still like an organized tour group with a structure and a agenda, if you will.
Okay. And then just the other thing is, you were saying, because the school is not really involved. So I know we talked about who can go and who can't in terms of ages. So is it, people going into the middle school, people who graduated, I don't know what the age range is. And what if hypothetically there's actually too many people who sign up? How will you determine who can and cannot go?
Yeah, so we're looking at students who are finishing sixth grade, so that's summer, after their sixth grade year, and then the seventh grade and eighth grade. So students who are basically finishing their sixth grade year and have not yet entered the high school, because then when they get to the high school, there is another trip option with a different tour and students. So that's kind of the age range we're looking at. And as far as the number of students, we're really limiting the amount, because we know that the larger the group, the harder it is to maintain and to manage. So it would be on a first come, first serve basis. And EF Tour's website has that sign up, and it can tell us when people signed up and when people didn't. And we have the ability to cut off at a certain number. And then if for some reason somebody signs up and then they drop out later, because there is a 1 week period in which they can get their deposit back, then we can go into a wait list and let people on the wait list sign up. And then if for some reason later on in a couple months, there's more kids that drop out, maybe students decide they can't go anymore, they have some kind of sport thing come up or an event they have to attend, again, we can go to the wait list and allow people to come back on in a first come, first serve basis, just because we're trying to manage the number of students. But that's also one of the reasons why we're thinking a trip this summer or a trip this upcoming summer in 2026, and then another trip in 2027 to allow for students who maybe wanted to go to the one trip but then didn't get a chance to sign up, or they took too long to think about it, or maybe they weren't sure or not, but then now they want to go a little bit later. And so hopefully then that gives more students the opportunity. But hopefully we do get enough students, because I think actually the worry is that we won't get enough rather than
possible.
getting too much. I'm a little more worried about not having enough students, but having too many would be, even better.
Well, I think in the beginning, the sign up will be large and then you'll see it
Drop
dwindle
off.
as the money
Right.
is due. But thank you. No,
Right.
it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I'm excited because my son is starting high school and I'm like, I didn't know there were trips. Now I'm going to look into
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Dr.
And
Teretuski, I'm going to move on.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, just a question about what is the price range of the trip, and are there insurance options for this also, like trip insurance for
Yeah.
families that attend?
Oh,
And
there's
what's the
definitely
price
trip
range of the trip?
insurance.
Okay.
Yes, there's definitely trip insurance.
Mhm.
So the trip, the cost of it, if you click on the links that are in there, it
They don't
says
have it, so it's
I don't have the access,
$3,200. It's
sorry.
$3,200 for students and $3,600 for adults to Puerto
Mhm.
Rico.
Yeah, and that's based off of pricing right now. So it for the one for 2027, it might change a little bit. The 2026 one probably won't change because we're looking at enrollment in October, but the one for 2027 might go up a little bit just because we're looking at enrollment in their, like, it goes up a little bit quarterly, I think they said. So it might go up next quarter. And so it might be a little bit more, but not like, it's not going up by the thousands. It's going up by, like $50 or $100 by the
That's
time.
related to, we'll do that as a separate approval in the future next year.
Yeah.
Like later this year. But for right now, we're just talking about the Puerto Rico trip. So those are the prices that we're going to share with families.
Okay.
Is that inclusive of air travel also, or is
It's
that just
everything there.
ground?
It's the
Yep.
all in.
Okay.
Yep.
That's one of the reasons that families sometimes want to go on it, because it's actually an affordable trip that might not be otherwise affordable for them. This is because of EF's sort of buying power.
Okay.
Any final questions or concerns before this item would go for a board motion in the September meeting? I did not put it on tomorrow. I didn't want to pressure this committee to make a decision before you heard about it. So our thought was to give it some time, and then our plan was to put it on the board agenda for approval and vote come September. Any concerns about us moving forward?
I don't have any concerns with moving forward. I do have concerns with the age of the students that would be traveling, as well as the kind of the climate, the general climate of the world and travel. It just makes me a little uneasy at this point to move to having younger kids be traveling without their families, but that's fine.
I don't disagree with you, Karen, but I think that's sort of why we feel like it's a great volunteer opportunity. There's no requirement for students or families to agree to it.
Mhm.
Any other concerns or questions?
Nope.
All right, Taylor, I'll get that on the board agenda the next time we meet. Thanks very
Okay,
much for
thank you
being
so
with us. Well, you're welcome to stay and listen to the rest of the meeting. I also understand you have a busy household right now, and so.
Yes, thank you. I have to
Okay.
go feed the daughter, so.
All right. Taylor's actually on parental leave as we speak, so she's got a newborn at home. All right. I know that took a little longer than we thought, but I think it was an important conversation, and I really appreciate everyone's engagement. Dr. Mangano, while you are also welcome to stay with us, I also know you have plenty on your plate to get us ready for the opening of school, so you're welcome to excuse yourself if you'd like.
Thank you. I'll hang in for a little bit and then I will. Thank you so much for everybody's time tonight too. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Spiker, I am going to turn it over to you. Once I remind our committee that we already have seen our K through 2 and 6 through 8 presentations on STEM. I'll remind you that I mentioned to you in June when we met that I had one more that just wasn't quite finished in enough time. And so I wanted to get that to you. And while Mr. Meyer is the teacher of technology and had intended to join us, as it turned out, he was out of the area on vacation. And so he has agreed that Mr. Spiker and I can move forward just so that we're ready to go with the start of the school year. So, Mr. Spiker, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about the STEM course overview.
Hi, everybody. Good to be here. So
Oopsie.
just a little bit of context. So Erdenheim, similar to Enfield, this course is a part of our specials rotation. So students have technology course, Mr. Meyer, once every 5 days for about 40 minutes at a time, third, fourth, and fifth grade. Definitely don't plan on reading all these slides to you, but as you can see here, pretty similar overviews between third, fourth, and fifth grade, though there is some building, right? But basically, right, a combination of direct instruction of teaching technology tools and basic computer skills, thinking through like design process, creating, engineering, aspects, and then also digital citizenship. One thing to note that's especially important for third grade is K-2 students have iPads, third through fifth have Chromebooks. So there is a lot of direct instruction on actually just how to use a more typical computer um, um, device. So everything from instruction on typing to just sort of how to navigate typical Windows programs that students may not be familiar with. So there is direct instruction in that. And then that design process, Mr. Meyer, this is something that he's really good at, that students do a lot of metacognitive thinking, project planning, thinking about, like we have a 4-week project on coding where students are trying to solve a particular problem through code that they're writing. He has them do a lot of reflection. Okay, it's the end of the second week. Here's what I've accomplished already. Here are problems that I've run into. So when I come back for my third week, here's what I'm going to be focusing on. Like here's the game plan. So he's doing a lot of that metacognitive design thinking process, both with coding and then through real world applications and tools. So doing a lot of things with Connects and Legos and robotics and things like that. So not just all in front of a screen, but also doing some like some tangible tactile engineering as well. And then that digital like citizenship, thinking about like online safety, AI, all of that kind of stuff to make sure that kids are prepared for the increasingly complex digital landscape that they will encounter as they go into middle school and high school. So that's the overview. If we move ahead now, there are some slides that talk about, again, some essential questions that obviously are very connected to that overview. Like these are the kinds of questions that are driving the year-long planning, the unit planning. And again, and this is something that Mr. Meyer is like really good at. I mean, he wants kids to really understand why we're learning certain things, what is the value in not just here's how to code because you're supposed to know how to code, but like, like how does that, what is the impact on the world? How does that help you be a better student? How can you apply these tools to real world problems? You'll see some of those examples of the questions that are guiding his work in third, fourth, and fifth grade. So you can see how they're connected, but also they're getting increasingly complex across the grade span at Erdenheim. And then I think we have one more slide.
Oopsie.
Yep, here are some of
So
those.
I was a little motivated there. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
here are some of the units in particular. A lot of what I already sort of we've seen in other slides. But that idea, again, focusing on coding, focusing on engineering, digital citizenship, and then again, like actually how to use the device that you have, and maximize all the elements. Our Chromebooks, you can use them as a regular computer, and you can use them as a tablet. So really, I'm making sure that if kids, and look, if they're interested in using their tablet to record a video, they know how to do that effectively and know all the bells and whistles that our devices have, so they can really be as creative as possible because they know how to actually use those devices. So those are just like some of the key ideas, the units, the questions. in our revised course here for 3rd through 5th grade technology and engineering STEM class.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Spiker?
No, other than to say this looks really good. I think this is just such an important part of the curriculum. It's just, you just don't, I see people caught out by stuff all day long at work. And I think if we can, the younger we can embed this with students, the better that people, you know, especially the digital citizenship piece. It's just terribly important. So I really appreciate this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I consider this approved by all of you for us to proceed with making any of these shifts in our unit planning for instruction for this year?
Yes.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mr.
Thanks, everybody.
Spiker.
Yep, thanks,
I
everybody.
appreciate you being here.
Of course.
And you are also, you and Dr. Mangano, of course, are welcome to listen to our proposed equity action plan. Or if you need to excuse yourself, that's understood also. Dr. Lutz, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm excited to share about the work that our district has completed for our second equity action plan. To recap from where we left off last year, we began our work with the Network Equity Consortium, or MAEC, as you'll commonly hear them referred to as. That started in the summer of 2024. That work was designed to complete an audit of our equitable practices following the successful completion of our first equity action plan. And that plan ran from January of 2022 to December of 2024. So as part of that audit, MAEC provided us with a timeline for our audit, along with the training for 18 of our staff members on the criteria for an equitable school survey. Unfortunately, MAEC lost their federal grant funding in February of 2025. And as a result, the district took on that audit work, and we completed a data-driven equity audit document that highlights our students and our community-based belonging survey results, some achievement data, focus group session themes, and a lot more. And it's all contained, and we will get you out that link. Next slide.
Yeah.
So a driving mission behind the equity audit was to focus on MAEC's criteria for equitable schools. And that really looks at, do we have a clear mission as the district? Are we inclusive from a visual perspective around our schools? Are we representing different populations? Are we collaborative in our partnership with families in the school community? Do we have high expectations for each and every student? Do we have ongoing professional learning for our staff members? System that emotional and we went through all of this as part of our audit, and that criteria is reflected in that equity audit document. The equity audit also looked at the building and district criteria for equitable schools, and that work came really some of our goals for moving forward. That work indicated that we had a need for growth, including in our school climate, our professional development, and our curriculum needs. And this was really based on the individual buildings completing this audit and then running those results totally as a district so that we had that information. In addition, part of our equity audit included extensive sessions with students and family members based on those 5 core questions that you see listed there. Those questions were related to the equity vision statement, our current and future learning experiences, and our students were real rock stars. They shared a lot about things that they loved in the district. And I have some highlights on the next page. So our students really reported they love the diversity of clubs and activities that are available to them. Something of note, our high school students really appreciated that our previous equity goals include like paying for AP tests. Multiple students commented that it helps them take advantage of additional advanced placement classes and tests because that was paid for. Overall, our parents and family members were appreciative of the many opportunities that students have here in Springfield Township, and they wanted to see expanded access to activities for all. And also, given the area that we live in is so rich from a multicultural perspective, they really want us to think about expanding our global thinking through regional opportunities. So over 200 Springfield Township students and family members shared their thoughts through those focus groups. And we combined that with the Equitable Schools tool, along with a thorough review of our belonging surveys that have been administered over the past 3 years. And that really helped to drive our 4 key equity action goals for 2025 through 2028. This includes expanding access and engagement in educational and extracurricular programs, utilizing our intervention periods to raise the achievements of the students, strengthening and promoting pathways to post-secondary programs, and using those research-based strategies that we know really work for professional development with our staff. We did link, there is a full EAP plan that's in here, and that really looks at our goals, objectives, practices for reinforcement, and a little bit more in depth, but we wanted to share those 4 goal takeaways. So in summary, we're looking forward to another 3 great years here in Springfield, here deepen our commitment to equitable practices for all of our students, staff, families, and community members. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Committee, anybody? Comments, questions? Dr. Yannicone has just joined us by phone, so I'm glad that she's able to be with us just in time. It's my understanding that we're going to present this information also tomorrow night at the board meeting. Any comments or questions? All right. Excellent. Thanks, Dr. Lutz.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I'm going to segue right back to, oh my gosh, it's you.
It's me again.
Code of conduct.
Thank you. Every year, we bring forward both our code of conduct and our student handbooks for board approval. Prior to coming to you, we always meet with the administrators. We talk about things that went well and things that maybe need to be improved. And then those get captured, and then our step before we bring it before you is that our legal counsel does review everything and provide us with notes, adjustments. So what you're seeing is a finished product here. So just some highlights. As you may recall, we went through 5 code of conduct a few years ago. And this year we did 6 through 12. So what you're seeing now is one document that will take us through K through 12. We're hoping that that streamlines things through parents. It also allowed us to provide some examples, some linkage to the actual policies that drive our decision making with these. And one of the things that we're most proud of is that you'll see that there's like a continuum of services listed there. So you can see that a lot of things ultimately originate in the classroom, and there's classroom management strategies, but we also recognize that for students that need increasing consequences or those behaviors that are more severe, we look to things like in-school interventions that the administration helps to provide to students, and then things like out-of-school suspension and referrals for expulsions or alternative education. And as I think the board does know, we report out every year through the Pennsylvania Information Management System on times that we call the police based on our MOU. And based on school code, there are certain times that we have to call the police and get them involved. And so this clearly notes all of those things just to give more transparency to parents and family members and students, certainly, as to what their behavior links to.
Finish going through it, Michelle. I'm almost there. Can everybody see that? Does that help? Made it a little bit bigger. One more page.
Really did try to capture everything.
You sure did. Okay.
Okay. So the K through 12 code of conduct ultimately goes into our handbooks. It's either a link or it's embedded directly in there. Something new for this year is that the Office of Support Services is going to have a November parent session where we will review the code and provide families with an opportunity to learn a little bit more and ask questions. So that will hopefully help with some greater clarity around our code.
Any questions or comments about the code of conduct?
Are there? I can't remember because when I go to a back to school night, I'm normally in a different part of the building with a different cohort of students to maybe like the homeroom type general education setting. But is there sharing of the code of conduct? Could you have like a QR code in the classroom so that it's kind of like front and center for families? I know we don't have a process of like, you know, signing off to say you've read the code of conduct type of thing, but, you know, just to kind of give it some publicity maybe.
So we are going to use our Power School system to push out the code of conduct. Also, what we will do is once this gets board approved is we will send out what we call our annual notifications through school messenger to all families in the district. And the codes of conduct are actually embedded in there along with the student handbooks, along with a myriad of other notifications that we like to send out to parents, some board policies, notifications about CHIP, things about special ed, all of those things that we're required to send out. So yes, all families do get this prior to the start of school so that hopefully they're attuned and opening their emails. I'm going to turn to my individual building principals really quick as to how you, Amy, I know you distribute.
Well, one of the things we do is besides making sure we can, I think I love the way Michelle talked about the way it's going out for families, but we really review it with kids. So part of what we're doing during our PD week is immersing our staff in this because it's new to them, and then making sure they then turn that training around and review it with all kids in every aspect of the building. So they're going to review it, we review it. So truly we're going to immerse them in what it really means and make sure they understand the language because both staff and students will need that.
That sounds great.
Other questions around the code of conduct itself? All right. Handbooks, Michelle?
Sure. So each school has a handbook that they send out. This year we did reformat them so that they look similar to each other. Each building has their own designated student handbook. Prior to this, K through 5 shared one handbook, but they are now split. It's a lot of the same information, but we just wanted to make sure that you can see like the Enfield staff, you can see the Erdenheim staff on those. Enclosed in those student handbooks, we have also links to those annual notifications. We did update our attendance information for this year. We've worked really closely with technology and with the school buildings to make sure that we've captured a new way to make it easier for parents to report out on absences. So stay tuned because that message is coming out shortly. But I can say that it will hopefully help to streamline some of those processes. And we also embedded student technology has their own expectations. You often hear it as like the annual like use.
Acceptable use.
Yeah,
acceptable use
acceptable use.
policy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that is also now embedded in that handbook. So it's kind of that one-stop shop for families. This gets posted on the website. Again, we're going to be sending it out through Power School for parents to review, and we'll send it out through student messenger, through school messenger, so that all families have it. We're really going to try to make sure that all family members have it in a way that's accessible to them. And the next slide then gives you links to all of the handbooks, and then you can see our example front page from the high school.
Any questions or comments about the student handbooks? Michelle, can you confirm for me that there are board agenda approval items tomorrow night expected?
Yes, they are. They're
A vote is expected. Let me say approval. A vote is expected tomorrow night, hoping for approval
yes, hoping for approval.
before we would disseminate this to families. But we wanted to make sure that it was fine with this committee to go ahead and move forward with that vote tomorrow night. Okay, great. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
It's a heavy lift. All right. Last but not least, we wanted to sort of catch everybody up on some of the things that have been keeping us busy this summer. And I thought the best way to start was the way we ended, which was talking a little bit about extended school year. Meg, Dr. Dennis?
Sure, thank you. It's nice to see everybody this evening. Just to start, I think I threw in the percentages of the students' populations that we serve this summer, which I think kind of lends to the conversation of what really goes on during ESY. So we have our full-time district program, which serves students for the majority of the day. They're there from 9 to 2. And those are our students that have, multiple academic and functional goal areas. So some of our more complex learners, students who really need that continuous support over the summertime to maintain their progress from the year heading into the fall of the next year. It's making up about half of our program, a little bit over half of our program. And then we have our itinerant reading and math students. So those are half-day program students, and that's really supporting our students with primarily academic goals, particularly in those core areas of reading and math as far as special education services go. So they're making up about 25%. And then we have our last two sort of growing areas. This is the first year that we ran an itinerant emotional support program. We're seeing students who have some more complex behavioral needs that really require some of that support over the summer. So again, the purpose of ESY is to help students in a couple areas to make sure that they're not experiencing a lot of regression, so that when they come back at the start of the year, there's a lot of work that has to be done to kind of get them back to where they were in the spring. And what we're seeing across the district is more of our students who have some of those needs in the area of behavior, those school-based behaviors. So that program was really focusing on those behavioral goals, but providing it in the context of that academic setting. So helping students experience school and the things that they need to be able to do in school and incorporate those behavioral strategies so that they then can come back to school in the fall and really access their core curriculum and academic instruction. Really successful for this first start of the year. We ran an elementary classroom and a secondary classroom, and we had multiple students with a focus on some attendance concerns, and we're really successful in having those students attending the program, again, helping to build that consistency in attending, so when they come back to us in the fall, they have that momentum going, and hopefully we see them continue to grow in that skill as the school year picks back up. And then our last group, our smallest group, is our itinerant tutoring group. And those are really targeted interventions for students with academic needs, but again, a small amount. So they're working maybe on 1 or 2 goals and don't really need that full half-day program to continue their support in that area. So overall, we serviced about 70 students this school year, it was a wonderful experience. We had lots of great programming going on in that program. And then if you go to the next slide, Dr. Johnston, as you know, when we spoke in the spring, we were working on bringing on some lead teacher support. Mrs. Schrage, our supervisor, is still the kind of lead on the program for ESY. We moved to 2 buildings where we just needed a little bit more on the ground support. And she and I took some time to really reflect on what was the benefit of that this past year. And we came up with a couple different areas. So first and foremost, it really did strengthen our program quality. We had more people overseeing what the program needed to look like, what instruction needed to look like, and spending time in those classrooms, making sure that there was some fidelity in our implementation of programming. Additionally, we saw improved student outcomes. So again, managing that fidelity, making sure progress monitoring is happening in appropriate ways is helping us to make sure that our students are getting what they need out of ESY so that they're starting the school year off on the right foot. We had lots of feedback from our staff just about the support of having people in each of those buildings every day that were focused on the program and really making sure that they felt supported. Our para staff had a lot more opportunities for coaching and support, as well as our teachers. Enhanced communication. So we really were able to leverage our support teachers in each of the buildings to make sure parents were getting timely communication, frequent communication, reminders, things to really just make sure that the program is running smoothly and families knew what to expect from a day-to-day basis. it really did promote accountability. Again, their presence in those classrooms on a day-to-day basis and their ability to do that really lended itself to schedules being followed, making sure that, you know, related services understood and was able to get to all the students that they needed to, because we contract out some of our speech services over the summer when we don't have internal staff filling those positions. So being able to connect with them on a regular basis, get them up to speed on how we progress monitor, how our schedules work, where students are, really helped to make sure that right on the first day of ESY that all of that was running smoothly, and students were getting what they needed. And that relates directly to those streamlining of operations. And they really were those wonderful cheerleaders for the entire program and did a wonderful job to keep the morale up and positive, to bring fun to the students. We had a talent show at the end, and one of the things I shared with the families was just I think one of the most wonderful things about the ESY program here in Springfield is that marrying of the academic needs with the summer fun and that sense of community. And I think that team, with the support of our lead teachers, really brought that together this summer, so that students got what they needed, but they also felt like there was, you know, fun to be had and community to be had during our ESY services this summer.
Thanks, Dr. Dennis. Any questions or comment for Dr. Dennis about ESY? Dr. Aberly?
Oh, sorry, I saw Eileen put her hand up as well.
I missed that. Well, hi, Eileen. They move in the windows. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say the talent show was wonderful. It was so heartwarming and just such a joy to see the participation from the students and the support from the staff. It was lovely to see that. The other thing that I think was appreciated this year was the opportunity, certainly for the full-time students, to do some light trips. Like they went to Fort Washington State Park, they went to the farm. So I think, you know, that kind of enhances the quality of the program as well. So really appreciated that this year.
Thanks, Dr. Aberly. Mrs. Bell?
It's funny because I was going to say one of the things that I liked, and I know it's been challenging to figure out where to put everybody in with the construction. So I know this summer was probably different than others, but for me, because my son is going into high school, the fact that his ESY was in the high school, it made me happy, because I'm like, okay, good. Now he's getting day after day opportunity of being comfortable in this new school and this new building, of figuring out maybe where some of his classes may be. So I don't know how that is, if that's possible in the future, of looking at where the kids are and if they're going into a new school, to put them in that school for ESY to help transitions.
Yeah, there's definitely, you know, a benefit to be had to that. I think we're balancing that against how many spaces can we spread people out into, and how many, you know, speech therapists are we going to bring into the buildings, and how far do they stretch from building to building. But yes, anytime we have an opportunity to give a student, you know, those chances to be in a building that they're going to be in, we try to capitalize on. And so, yes, over the next year or two with construction, we're going to continue to kind of think about what's going to make the most sense on the physical space, so that we keep students in spaces that are ready to receive them. But moving forward, yes, we'll certainly have in some consideration where we're servicing students and which model makes the most sense for the district based on our size, the size of the students we need to serve, and the number of staff that we have to supply.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Dennis. All right. In addition, in getting ready for the summer, our technology department was very busy. They prepared and are ready to distribute 1,500 Chromebooks at the middle school and high school. As Dr. Lutz alluded to a little bit, and we talked about this in the spring when Mr. Lutz was here, the idea of moving to Power Hub and the use of Safe Arrival. So we heard all the feedback from all of you about how that Safe Arrival will work. When will an email come in? When will you notify? How will that work? So all that information is in its final stages of getting ready to be rolled out. And right after we finish that, the moving to the Power Hub, so that there's this like much more centralized opportunity for families to have all the information they need in one spot. The school messenger, along with the Schoology, with their grades, everything is in one spot. So over the next few months, we'll have all of that rolled out to families and kids, to try to make communication increasingly transparent and available. Questions or comments about technology? Eileen? Oh, is that from before?
Yep, sorry, forgot to lower my hand.
No
I'm
problem.
good.
Just wanted- I didn't want to, I missed you last time. I didn't want to miss you
No, no,
again.
no, I just realized I didn't lower the hand. I forgot it doesn't do that automatically.
It's all good. Any technology questions? All right. Hiring and staffing, we are ready to go. Induction begins tomorrow. We're bringing in 16 new faculty, most of whom will be with us tomorrow. All of our faculty return on Monday, so we are up and ready. Our administrators have been busy planning. We'll talk about this again in a second. Really aligned professional learning so that across the district, each building is receiving personalized learning that makes sense in their context, but also is thematically connected across our district to our overall strategic plan. So we'll talk about that in just a second. We have almost every instructional position filled or planned for. We have a couple of final paraprofessionals just to finish hiring. I think Dr. Mangano and Dr. Dennis are finalizing that as we speak. And in addition, you all want to talk a little bit about an upcoming board motion. I don't think it's on tomorrow night. I think it's coming in September. Is that right, Dr.
Correct.
Dennis?
Yes. So we've been really trying to work all summer long on coming up with a good plan for some Wilson support at the middle school. We had a staff resignation of a certified Wilson teacher, as well as a maternity leave for one of our certified Wilson teachers. And we are currently in the middle of training an additional teacher. So our ultimate goal is that we have a Wilson certified teacher at each grade level, 6, 7, and 8 through special education, so that we can meet the basic reading skills needs of our students receiving that type of instruction. So our students with specific learning disabilities in the area of reading. So in order to, Dr. Mangano and I kind of went back and forth about what's the best way to do this. We're going to have several staff out, and we really just want to make sure that there isn't any disruption to our students who are receiving this instruction. So we went on an extensive search. We looked at different contractors, what their availability would be. They're not super easy to find if you don't know anything about finding a Wilson certified teacher. They're not, readily available. We posted a long-term sub position for just Wilson support. We did not have any candidates for that. We finally have found someone who is able to support this. So we have a contractor that actually will be coming to us from the Chester County Intermediate Unit. She's Wilson certified. She's a reading specialist. She has her teaching cert. And so it's going to help us to make sure that our students have the support that they need through this year while we're training a staff member and while we're waiting for our other staff member to return from their maternity leave. And so the CCIU, the Chester County Intermediate Unit, doesn't have a contract per se. They manage all of their supports through an electronic system. So we didn't have it within the 48 hours time in order to get it on this agenda, but it'll be on the September agenda for you to approve this year-long support. And the benefit is she'll be with us full day. Every day she'll be able to participate in some PD with us. In fact, we spoke with her, the person that they're assigning to us today, and she's ready to go, wants to come in some of the PD week in order to kind of get herself ready and up to speed with all of our students and our schedule. But we do believe this is the best way for us to make sure with anything that may happen, anything that may come to us this year, if we get new students, if we, if our maternity leave stays out longer, we have everything we need to make sure that there is no disruption to our student services.
Thanks, Dr. Dennis. And so we just wanted to make sure that since there would be a space between now and us bringing this to the board, and we wouldn't have a meeting between then, that you knew why and what it was for. Are there any questions around that Wilson contract? Great. I think what's most important, and I know Dr. Dennis said it, was to allude, we didn't want any gap in services as we were ensuring those high quality training for those children who need Wilson support have been identified because their needs are significant enough. So we wanted to make sure there was no gap between those two competing variables. It was complicated. Thanks, Dr. Dennis and Dr. Mangano, for coming up with a creative solution. Great job. The last thing I just wanted to share with you is what's been happening out of my office, although I'm finding that some of the slides didn't convert well, so don't mind the typos, I'll fix them. is that we spent this summer in professional learning really trying to think about how to memorialize for our teachers what we believe about teaching and learning. So we've created sort of our vision around what's expected and what we want in all of our classrooms. And that combines all of the things we've been working on, right? It's all of the professional learning over the last 3 or 4 years. It's all of the work our principals and administrators have been doing in their walkthroughs. It's all around our equity action goals. It's all around our strategic plan, but really starting to say, here's what we believe, here's what we expect, and this is what we're about. And putting that into writing, and really then talking about that we expect our teachers to focus on rigorous student-centered instruction, equitable environments, working collectively, that we all have a piece in the puzzle. And that shared journey will drive us forward. And then the challenge to our administrators that I've given to them that they are rising to is we are mapping out for the first time all of our PD that's going to happen throughout the course of the year, and then sharing that with staff next week so that they know exactly where we're going, why we're going, and then how we're holding people accountable, including ourselves, to making these motions again as we continue to raise expectations in order to close the narrow the gap where feasible and possible in the performance of some of our students. And so we've continued to identify sort of our flex professional learning, which you know is that personalized professional learning our faculty do, their district-wide days, and then the use of instructional coaching, faculty meetings, and department and grade level meetings, and really being clear about when we're with staff that our point is to help them have the tools they need to effectively provide teaching and learning to the students who are in front of them every day. And so we just wanted to share that with you. It's still not finalized. We're still making some tweaks, as you can see, with what I thought was perfect slides are not. There are still some errors. Any questions or comments around that work coming out of the Office of Teaching and Learning? All right. And last but not least, as we sort of finish this up, is Dr. Yannicone has asked that we try to identify our meeting dates for the whole year, so there are fewer surprises. That is no small task in this committee because there have been preferred days or not preferred days. So we went with Mondays, which was our old day, but I moved it to 4 o'clock. So I wanted to just check in with this team and make sure that that seemed like it would work before we made them public.
So I'm going to say that I have a meeting on Mondays that usually goes till about 5.
Is
Now,
there a day of the week you'd prefer?
Well,
There-
Amy,
yeah.
it's Karen. We won't even be attending.
I know.
meetings
I was just
beyond
about to say that.
October.
I
It's
just
just-
really
it's
have,
just
you
one
really
more.
have to worry about the October one, and
Mhm.
yeah. So don't base it on me. But I just wanted you to know that in October I may not be able to make the meeting.
Okay. Eileen and Lee, since I anticipate
I'm
optimistically.
Yeah, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I'm fine with that day of the week and time.
Okay.
That's
Eileen?
fine. I'm not saying I want more meetings. Please don't misunderstand. But we don't meet every month. I can't even remember anymore.
This is based on what we did last year.
Okay.
That doesn't mean we won't have a need, because usually when we've met more often, it's because something has come up, which is why the spring ones are always so much heavier, because that's when all the curriculum guides are being approved at the end of the year, and all our planning for the following year. But as of right now, this is exactly what we did last year.
Okay, because October and February seem really far apart, but okay.
They do, and then until you're in them, and then all of a sudden it's the holidays and no one wants to talk anyway, so.
Okay, yeah, that works for me.
October 6th is planned to be, as of today, our plan is for that meeting to be our annual performance review of academic data, and our presentation on academic data. So you're fine with me to move forward with these dates, given what we know today?
Yes.
Okay. I would normally now open it up to public comment. We don't have any public participants at this point. Dr. Yannicone, I'm so glad that you were able to be here. Do you have any comments or questions for the committee before I wrap us up?
No, I'll just say thank you to everybody who presented. I really do appreciate it. As Dr. Johnston knows, I had a little dental emergency that I had to take care of this afternoon. So I apologize for being late. I'm glad to see everybody on the committee. I will say to Ms. Bell's comment that if at any point the committee members feel that you'd like to get together because there's a topic of interest to you, you can always just request we're at your disposal. So if you would like more frequent meetings for a specific topic, we will always prepare, to be with you and to prepare any topic that you ask us to do. What we've tried to do with each of the 4 committees, and any committee member will have this information in the next 2 weeks, is just look at the pace and timing of our meetings from last year and try to give advance notice, understanding that some committee members will not be staying with us after the November elections.
Thanks, Dr. Yannicone. That said, our next meeting is scheduled for October the 6th at 4 o'clock in this virtual format. And then I just wanted to open it up to the committee if there were any final comments before we wrapped up to and including Dr. Aberle. I believe Dr. Yannicone listed you as our reporter tomorrow night.
That's fine. As long as I get the minutes.
You will have them.
I'll review them tonight and present them tomorrow. That's fine.
Someone who planned these meetings, that's me, didn't really think through how all the magic was gonna happen behind the scenes, up to and including a few minutes ago, me realizing you needed minutes. So you will have,
that's
I assure
absolutely
you.
fine. I'll take care of it. No worries.
I know you, I assure you, you'll have them. It made me giggle a few minutes ago. I was like,
I was going to ask the question. I'm like, am I presenting this tomorrow? The answer is yes. I've got 24 hours to take care of it. It's fine.
I'm going to send you something to get you started. Any other questions or comments from the committee before we wrap up?
No.
I look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow night for dinner, for our board get together and the kickoff to the 25-26 school year. I appreciate all your continued enthusiasm. I know this was a long meeting to start the school year, but we have a lot of important work we wanted to share with you, and I appreciate the support and ongoing interaction. So thank you very much and have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks, you too. Take care. Bye.